Colleagues, friends, so my name is John Harding. I currently manage the Climate Risk and Early Warning Systems Cruise Initiative, which is hosted at the World Meteorological Organization. And I have a couple of slides for this short introduction to cruise. I can start by saying actually I joined this RIMES Council meeting hoping to be able to announce and to formalize a collaboration with RIMES. We're not quite there yet, so I won't be jumping the gun and announcing that, but we're hoping to be able to strengthen our collaboration very, very shortly. If I can have my first slide, please. So cruise, obviously, we function in the context of the wider architecture of financing for early warning. As you're all aware, the official development assistance is retracting overall, but not all sectors or regions are affected in the same way. And currently, early warning hasn't been overly affected, but it's something obviously we're paying a lot of attention to. And if I can have my next slide, please. Or am I supposed to do that? Thank you very much. So we're very aware that the development assistance is not the solution for the sustainable capacity of your national systems or regional collaboration or systems. We very much focus on bridging the capacity gap between the countries with more capacities in this area and the least developed countries and small and developing states. And that's very much the focus of our work. On a more positive note, and we heard quite a lot of that during the discussion this morning, we're seeing a lot of advances in technology, the innovations that are helping us reduce costs, a lot in the upstream observation systems, but also in cell broadcasting. But there's also a lot of innovation when you talk about financing. It's not just about more funds, it's about how we develop our collaboration. And we're seeing a lot of very good practices, particularly in South-South collaboration, drawing on the expertise of some of the members who have more capacity, and we have very good examples in this room. We have the countries like India, China, who through their institutions have a capacity to support other countries. And that's something we're very keen on supporting through our financing, as well as this mutualization of services into a regional level where one member can provide services for a number of members. And that's very important for us as a community, as WMO as an institution and our partners. But of course, we're very aware that as a standalone financing for early warning mechanism, the financing is not sufficient to address the financing gaps and the needs that we collectively have. So we put a lot of emphasis in our work on leveraging additional financing. This is work we do a lot with the World Bank. So even if we have a portfolio over 150 million in projects, we leverage a lot more funds through these institutions, and also facilitating access for our members to financing such as climate finance. If I can have my next slide, please. So cruise is what we call a financial intermediary fund. It's one of these mechanisms administered by the World Bank. There are currently 27 of these FIFs, these financial intermediary funds. The latest one that was established is the Fund to Respond to Loss and Damage, but the Green Climate Fund and other mechanisms are also FIFs. So it's interesting noteworthy to see that we have a dedicated FIF now on early warning. Like all the FIFs, it's basically, while the trust fund is administered by the World Bank, we have a board that actually approves our financing decisions. We're very happy that we've seen a growing number of countries that are supporting this work. We currently have 12 countries which contribute to the trust fund, and as I say, we're getting more countries that are getting involved in prioritizing early warning within their development assistance, and that's very important. We have 3 financing windows. We have projects, multi-year projects, typically in the scale of 3 to 5 million. We also have a dedicated window to respond rapidly to needs that you may have as members, as NMHSs. You can access through our accelerated support window up to 250,000. We try and make this a real simplified procedure to access these additional financing. And we have an agreement with the Green Climate Fund where countries that have successfully implemented a cruise project have facilitated access to one of their financing windows, which is called the SAP, which is up to 25 million per project. and we have a very strong demand in this area. We have now 15 countries that are requesting money through these projects. And if I can have my last slide, please. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we're looking to formalize an agreement in the region to support these regional forums and procedures. I'd like to thank the World Bank and the development partners and the RIME Secretariat who have done a very stellar work in building up a very solid proposal. And we really look forward to approving this proposal and moving forward with the collaboration. And we hope that at the next council meeting we'll have some success stories to present in the context of this collaboration. So I thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I request WMO Asia Pacific.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Ben Churchill, WMO Regional Office, Asia Southwest Pacific. I'm just going to introduce WMO. Many of you in the room are very familiar already, but I also recognise that some are learning about the mandate of WMO and the work of its members. So I could have my presentation. So I'll be talking global roles, initiatives and so on to begin with, and then I'm going to focus in on the regional perspective from Asia Pacific, and then I'm going to call on my colleague Agnes to talk about Africa. So if I can have the next slide, thank you. So what is WMO? So broadly it's a UN specialised agency and it's part of the UN family. The mandate is to cover weather, climate and water, but also environmental services. And it's actually the UN's authoritative and scientific voice on the state and behaviour of atmosphere and climate. If we can have the next slide. And this is just a graphic to remind you why we're all here and the increasing importance of the work of the WMO Secretariat and its members, the National Meteorological Hydrological Services. As we've learned from the recently released Global State of the Climate Report, the atmosphere continues to warm. We're very much at the precipice of the 1.5 degrees Celsius. 2024 was the warmest on record, and 2025, the first few months, have been very much up in that scale as well. So this is very concerning, and this is driving more extreme weather across the world in terms of more intense, more frequent extreme weather, which we heard from our Secretary General, Professor Celeste Saulo, in her address to you this morning. Next slide, please. And also paying attention to, if I can have the next slide, thank you. The World Economic Forum is a collection of the world's best economists and their 2-year and 10-year sort of outlook on the risks. As you can see from this diagram, the green bars represent environmental risks, and we can see extreme weather events in a 10-year time frame racing to the top of the list. And this will drive critical changes to Earth systems, biodiversity, ecosystem, and also natural resource shortages, which is a pretty dire outlook. But as we heard, we're in a critical situation, and we need to take very decisive and concrete actions. If I can have the next slide. So this is what brought about the Early Warnings for All initiative. I won't go through the whole slide in detail, but in summary, it was launched by the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, in 2022 on the World Meteorological Day, and then officially launched with an action plan at the COP27 in Egypt later that year. The aim is to have everyone on the planet covered by Early Warnings for All by the end of 2027, which is a very ambitious target. But importantly, it delivers on the Paris Agreement and the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. A point here I want to make is that it's not a new program. It's about building on existing work and ongoing work to improve multi-hazard early warning systems across the whole membership of WMO, but not just WMO. WMO is working in partnership with key UN agencies such as UN Office on Disaster Risk Reduction, the International Telecommunication Union and the International Federation of Red Cross Red Crescent Societies, and also SCAP in terms of transboundary hazards and taking a regional approach to delivering this very vital initiative. Next slide, thank you. So of course, like all the work we do, it's very complex and interactive and integrated. We rely very heavily on partnerships. I mentioned some in terms of the UN system, but we also have our development partners, thank you. And the important thing here is to emphasise that we need to leverage these partnerships if we're going to do this successfully. Next slide. And this is just an example of global cooperation between two pillars, WMO and the ITU, in terms of CAP, which is the Common Alerting Protocol, which is about getting weather forecasts and warnings out to the end users in a consistent way through multiple channels. And so the very good news here is that the world is turning green, so this indicates that CAP is being implemented. About 5 years ago, it was mostly yellow and some patches were red, so this is very promising. Next slide. So just briefly to talk about the regional scale initiatives of these global level actions. If I can have the next slide. Just to give us a few highlights. So I mentioned the early warnings. I won't go through all the detail here, but this is to indicate that of the 11 countries in Asia Pacific, we're making some very good progress. We've had national consultation workshops with all our partners and the national level pillar partners and stakeholders, and many of the roadmaps are being completed and now being implemented with the support of CRUISE, and I mentioned earlier the Systematic Observation Financing Facility. Another initiative at the global level, but being scaled down at regional level in Asia Pacific, and also you'll learn about Africa and also other parts of the world. We have the regional state of the climate, which is providing very valuable information to decision makers and policy makers and negotiators for the COP in terms of the impacts of climate and climate change, and also with the help of SCAP, a very key partner in this publication, information on risk impacts and also policy recommendations. And so these are launched before the COP each year, and the next ones for 2024 will be published in the next month or so. And I think that is my last slide, and I think I've timed it nicely. I'm going to hand over, maybe just check, next slide. Oh, just one more thing. GMAS, which is the Global Multi-Hazard Alert System, is how early warnings for all is being sort of operationalised at a regional scale. So I encourage you, and I want to thank all our partners for this initiative, and also Hong Kong for hosting the Severe Weather Information Centre, and this is how we get our CAP warnings in a consistent way out to a broader audience, and this is vital for decision making, decision support. So I think that is the last slide now, and I'm going to hand over now to Agnes to talk about regional initiatives in Africa. Welcome, Agnes.